Hello, I'm Dr. Nyasio. Welcome to another episode of Lighted Pathways Production. On today's broadcast, we're going to continue on in our study of depression, and we're talking about the symptom of little interest or little pleasure in doing things. What do you do when you just don't feel like doing anything? What do you do when you just don't feel motivated? Well, stay tuned. Grab your pen and your notebook or your electronic device and take notes. You don't want to miss this. So let's jump right in and turn our attention once again to the list of symptoms that we described initially. So here are all the symptoms that are on our screener for depression. Today, we are going to specifically focus on the very first symptom, which is little interest or pleasure in doing things. One of the common symptoms people complain about in my practice, especially those who are dealing with the symptoms of depression, is this seemingly sudden lack of interest in activities or hobbies that they used to enjoy. Some people describe it as just a sudden loss of drive or a sudden loss of motivation. And some common examples tend to be trouble getting out of bed in the morning, or no longer being happy with the things you have going on in life, such as hobbies, or more specifically, having a very difficult time enjoying the company of loved ones or friends. While it is completely normal to experience what I call off days, whereby your interest level in a particular thing has decreased, or your motivation to do something has temporarily decreased, the problem comes in when this phenomena occurs over a prolonged period of time. More specifically, we're talking 2 weeks or more. So let me say that again. A part of the normal human experience is that our interest or motivation levels can wax and wane. There's no problem with that. What I am specifically addressing is the prolonged experience where things you used to enjoy suddenly aren't enjoyable anymore. And we're talking particularly for a period of 2 weeks or more. Okay, so we've defined the problem, but what do you do about it? Well, one of the approaches to treating this particular symptom of depression or major depressive disorder includes something called behavioral activation. Now, there's a lot that we can say about behavioral activation, but let's take a quick break and we'll hear more about it when we return. Looking for a church home? Got questions? Searching for answers?
Well, look no more.
Look no more. Celebration Church of Santa Ana would like to invite you to check out one of our online services with 5 convenient services offered in English, Spanish, or Cambodian languages. We're sure you'll find a meeting time that's just right for you. Conveniently located off the 22 freeway, our address is 555 East Memory Lane, Santa Ana, California, 92706. For more information, you can also check us out on the web at celebration-church.com. Tune in this Sunday and join us. Behavioral activation is a behavioral technique that emphasizes the role of positive reinforcements in the human experience. Now, what does that mean? Well, in layman's terms, it means that all human beings are created with the need for positive experiences. And where do we get those positive experiences? We get them when we do things that we enjoy. We get them when we have pleasant interpersonal exchanges with others in our community or in our family. All of these things are necessary for healthy human development. So, for example, when we do things that we enjoy doing, either because we're naturally good at it or it's just pleasurable to us, then those types of activities end up causing us to experience an increase in our mood, which is another way of saying we feel good. When we do things that we do not enjoy, or we do things that are considered to be some sort of punishment, or just unpleasant for whichever reason, those are things that tend to decrease our mood, or in other words, we don't feel very good when we're doing those things. Behavioral activation is designed to get you reconnected to things that you either enjoyed doing in the past but have stopped doing, or things that you really need to be doing but just haven't felt the motivation or drive to do it. Behavioral activation, in other words, is a technique that basically says it's time to get up and get engaged even if you don't feel like it. The beauty of behavioral activation is that it is completely independent of how a person might feel. What do I mean by that? Well, for many people, a lack of interest or motivation is a symptom of depression. And therefore, the treatment for depression has to include doing the opposite of how you feel. For example, if you don't feel like getting out of bed in the morning and you've developed the habit of staying in bed, calling into work several days out of the week to be excused from work, or not going to school, or not taking care of your family, or just not doing other obligations that you have, then behavioral activation says to you that you have to get out of bed, that you have to get re-engaged with life again. The treatment is going to be the opposite of what it is you've been doing. This treatment does not depend on how you feel. That is not a factor in completing behavioral activation. And because of that, I have been told on many occasions when I'm working with my own patient populations dealing with depression that I am very tough. And in part, it's because I believe that if you are dealing with these symptoms of depression, this is your part in managing your own mental health. In other words, unless you are dealing with some type of chemical imbalance or a brain injury, continuing to allow these symptoms to dominate your life is a choice. And that is my approach to treatment. And therefore, for this one component of treating this symptom of depression, the responsibility really does lie with the individual to understand how their behavior is facilitating the symptom. So you might say, well, how would my behavior of lying in bed, for example, facilitate the symptoms that I'm already experiencing of little interest or pleasure in doing things? Well, that's a great question. And the answer is this. It is normal, again, to experience changes in interest level. However, the more a person gives into whatever change they're experiencing is the more they're going to experience the change. So for example, the first time a person experiences little interest or pleasure in doing things, and they choose to stay in bed all day, they've taught themselves something. When I feel this way, then I lay in bed all day. When that same feeling comes back again, or that same thought that I should lay in bed comes back to them, and they do it, that strengthens the association that they've made. And it strengthens it to the point that it becomes a habit. This is how I say that the individual who's dealing with this symptom is responsible for making the necessary changes in order to help overcome this particular symptom. And behavioral activation is a great tool for that to occur. Okay, so I'm going to teach you 3 steps to behavioral activation. First, what you need to do is grab a sheet of paper and a pen, something to write with, or an electronic device if that's what you're using. The first step is going to be to fold your paper in half, or if you're on your electronic device, somehow divide your paper in 2. Once you've done that, I'd like you to write on the left-hand side all of the things that you used to do, but you've stopped doing because either you've lost interest or the motivation or drive to get it done. I also want you to write down all of those things that you probably need to be doing, but just haven't been doing because, again, your motivation or drive levels have decreased. Once you have completed step 1, you're ready to move on to step 2. And step 2, what I'd like you to do is on the right-hand side of the paper, list all of the corresponding actions that you could take which would help you to accomplish whatever you've written in step 1. So for example, if in step 1 you wrote, get out of bed. That's something that you have not been doing. You probably need to do that and you just haven't. And that's what you've listed on the left-hand side for step 1. Then for step 2, you would expound upon that. Get out of bed at 7:30. Make bed, sit on sofa. Now that might sound really basic and simple for some people, but if you have found yourself dealing with this symptom of lack of interest and it's had a grip on your life for quite some time, and you're one of those people who have a lot of trouble getting out of bed, this is a wonderful first step. The beauty of behavioral activation is that it can be customized and tailored to wherever you find yourself having difficulty. Now, once you've completed step 2, you are ready to move on to step 3. And I warn you, step 3 is where we proverbially say the rubber meets the road. In step 3, I'm going to ask you to now commit to doing whatever you've listed on your sheet in step 2 at least 3 to 4 times a week. Now, just like in a previous video where I talked to you about the role of thoughts, and I walked you through a brief confession to help you have the right thoughts about yourself, I want to walk you through another brief time of confession to to make sure you have the right thoughts about being able to complete this task. So at this time, what I'll ask you to do is once again, repeat after me. Here we go. I have the ability to do any and everything I need to do because Christ has given me the ability. I can get up and take responsibility for my own mental health. I am supported by family and friends. And even if no one supports me, I am supported by God. I am strong and I will take action. My emotions may not cooperate, and discipline might not seem pleasant at the time. However, it will produce good fruit in my life. Whatever I do it unto the Lord, so my feelings do not dictate what I do or how I do it. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our time for today. I hope you were able to find something useful in that which I have gone over for today. For those of you who are in California, my contact information will appear on the screen momentarily should any of you desire to engage in deeper work around these issues. For those of you outside of the state of California, I encourage you to check with your insurance providers or any mental health directories for a list of providers in your area. Before I end this broadcast, I want to take this opportunity to invite anyone who's watching who doesn't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ to do so, to get one at this time. All it takes is a simple prayer. If you'll pray this with me, you'll be welcome with open arms into the family of God. Say this with me. Jesus, I confess I am a sinner. I believe you died for my sins and you rose again. I accept you into my life as my Lord and my Savior. And that's it. If you said that prayer with me today, welcome to the family of God. If you did, please go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below. I would absolutely love to hear your story. Well, we've come to the end of today's broadcast. This is Dr. Nyasio with Lighted Pathways Productions. See you soon.